video. But yeah, I mean, again, it's all that started coming out. And you started reading things that Patsy had written.
Oh.
It was clear. Well, I mean, it was clear that there was the best word I can think for it is, and I don't want to say she was crazy, but there was just this intensity to it that seemed sort of out of proportion.
Well, I remember one of the FBI agents in a conversation saying to me, he said, "This ain't no whodunit."
Yeah. I think there were so many mistakes made. I think all of the sources, and you and I have always believed, I think, the same thing.
Sure.
But all of the sources in it, from the beginning, it was fairly clear to them that there was an inside job. And I think granted, there's all kinds of new evidence out there, and there's all kinds of theories out there, but especially at the beginning, and I think the thing they always came back to is, if you commit a crime in your own home, all of the trace evidence you can explain it all away. And when there are two possible people or more, it's hard to, it's hard to bring a case against them. But I think in this case, it was just so bungled. That was the main problem.
I mean, as you know, by the next day, and I was going back looking at and these notes are really, really old, but they had an attorney by the name, remember Michael Bynum? Remember Michael Bynum?
Right.
So here's my notes. On December 27th, the following evening at the Fernie's house in South Boulder, Detective Linda Arndt approached John Ramsey. But Ramsey's lawyer friend Michael Bynum cut off the conversation, telling Arndt that legal advisors had been retained to speak for the Ramseys. December the 28th, the Boulder police were informed by Patsy's legal advisors the Ramseys had nothing more to say and would answer no more questions.
Right. And then when they finally did talk, it was highly negotiated.
Well,
I know I had sources that say she was
shot.
I mean, she was on some sort of Valium or something like that.
They shot lie detector tests. So they found the one that they could pass.
Right.
And there's
no one ever. When they talked to police, it said it was so good. Well, and it was also curious, and even at the time in the media, we found this curious. Not only did they very soon thereafter get a lawyer, they also about the same time got a PR representative.
Yep, and I met that guy, and he said he wanted to have dinner with me, and I said okay, fine, and we chose the Chart House in Genesee. And I brought Chuck Green unexpectedly because Chuck was doing the story.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when I walked in and sat down. I had Chuck Green from the Denver Post with me. And he said, "Why is he here?" I said, "Because I want a witness." And then then the rest of the night, we never talked about the Ramseys.
Wow.
And that's a true story. In 1996, the JonBenet murder. Again, I think that morning, as we're listening to Julie Hayden speak, not that many people were drawn to it. But boy, I'll tell you what. And then it blew up. Obviously, Julie Hayden is with us, Peter Boyles, K-How Radio, and it was 1996 where on the morning of the 26th, where JonBenet's body JonBenet is killed sometime, I think, before dawn of December the 26th. Her skull's fractured. She's strangled with a cord, black duct tape over her mouth, her body taken to the basement of the Ramsey residence. And it is just an amazing story. Patsy, of course, now gone, and John got remarried. Burke Ramsey's now in his 20s. I think he goes to Michigan State or Michigan University, and Aunt Pam has dropped off the map, and the story goes to ground. But looking back on it, what a ride! What's your memory, Julie, of that story?
I think one of the biggest memories I have, because at the time, again, as it was unfolding, no one knew that we were going to still be talking about it years later, and it seemed like such a solvable case. I was just as I started watching the way the Boulder police and the Boulder DA's office handled it, I just remember sort of being appalled as a reporter, thinking these people are all crazy. How can they be? You know what I mean? How come they're handling it that way? I remember at one point, that the police or the DA's office were accusing the police of breaking in, and then they had some session where everybody was giving everybody a back massage or something. It was just so bizarre, and it was like every time you thought the story couldn't get more bizarre, it did. I mean, remember John Mark Carr, for Pete's sakes. All of a sudden, you got some guy in Thailand who I think everybody knew was not the killer. There was no evidence he'd ever been in Boulder.
Mary Lacey.
And Mary Lacey's bringing him back, exactly.
I remember that. I remember when this crazy person, John Mark Carr, who, by the way, is now going under another name, Alexis.
I think it's a female's name.
Yeah, he's becoming a woman, now called Alexis, I don't know, Aunt, whatever it was. And in Thailand, remember they're calling him Lady Man because he was getting breast implants in Bangkok. And he was groomed by Michael Tracy, pig that he is. Michael Tracy, CU journalism teacher. You want to know why the journalism school was folded? Then it's Michael Tracy. Michael Tracy, and he groomed John Mark Carr. And because he was such a, I tell you, you might remember the time when he brought his film crew. Were you with us on that one? And
I was. He brought his film crew. He did something with me too, and it was just, and it was an attempt. I mean, everybody knew what his motive was, but it was an attempt to be sort of a slam job
on the media. So
on the media.
So he shows up at old Clear Channels down on Lawrence Street. So here he comes in with his little British accent and his little butt boys, and he said, "Peter, would you do this?" And I said, "Of course I will." Oh, I'm so happy. I said, "Let's go in the radio studio right now. You set up your cameras, come on the air with me, and for every question you ask me, I get to ask you one. You care to play?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Then hit it." I said, "You think I'm going to sit here and let you record me and cut me up and use me?"
Right.
I said, "Let's just go in the studio and let's do it." And he punked out. And he is a punk today. He was a punk then, and he remains a punk. And if he's up at CU, he's still a punk.
I mean, that whole thing, it was clear he's exchanging emails, and by that time,
he was grooming.
He was
grooming.
Charlie Brennan's book was out, and I mean, everything was known about the case. It wasn't hard. There was a bizarre episode where, and again, what it was is there was a concerted effort by people who should have been straightforward media people, but who believed the Ramseys were innocent, or at least were,
remember our parody songs? We can take some. Remember we had Paula the Brown Nose. Hey, Sheik.
Yeah.
Go into the archives and find our Paula the Brown Nose reindeer.
And those people were making an effort to slam the other media. I remember I got a call one day from some.
How about the Ramsey Mountain News? The Rocky Mountain News, yeah.
Well, and in this case, it was a newspaper reporter in Florida who wanted to comment on my career as a stripper, and I was like, "What?"
What?
And it was and I forget his name, but he had a public TV show, a radio show in Boulder, and he was playing interviews with people who claimed to have been strippers with me, and at first I thought it was funny. I mean, because my daughter's like, "You were a stripper?" I'm like, "No, I was never a stripper." But the TV station had to threaten to sue him. It was crazy.
I was worse than a stripper. I was in radio.
Yes, I'm in TV.
I was far worse than a stripper.
Far worse, yeah. I get paid more than $1.
That's right. Where'd you get all those dollars?
That's right. In TV, they let you keep your clothes on, but
Right. But I tell you, in a strip bar is a better class of people than there is in a TV station. I want you to listen to this. This was about Paula Woodward.
There was Charlie and Philip and Lisa L. Reichman, Danny and Bertha and Sherry Keene Osborne. But can you recall the most shameless suck-up of all? All of the Ramsey lapdog had a very big brown nose. After you watch her interview, you would even say it grows. All of the other journalists used to think she had some class. Now they just get embarrassed as she kisses Ramsey's ass. Late one foggy Christmas night, the young life met an end. Paula disregards the facts to suck up to her friend. Oh, how the public hates this as they shout out angrily. They treat the rich in Boulder not the same as you and me. Then one foggy New Year's Eve, Hal Haddon came to say, Paula, with your nose so brown, won't you come to Boulder town? Know how the Ramseys loved her, and they shouted out with glee. Thanks to the brown-nosed journalists, we'll be getting off scot-free. We'll be getting off scot-free. Ho, ho, ho!
Peter Boyles and Media Horror Productions take you back in town and back in time. That was about Paula Woodward, and if you heard the names of those people, they were the reporters that went up and sucked up to the Ramseys. Julie